Hello and welcome to Millennium News Hour. I am Tanziba Nawreen. In today's bulletin, we will present top and trending news from across the nation and the world. Let's begin with the headlines of the day. President Biden congratulates Muslims on Eid al-Adha. Debris from implosion of Titanic-bound submersible is returned to land. Trump launches defamation countersuit against E. Jean Carroll. Smoke from Canada wildfires is increasing health risks in Black and poorer U.S. communities. Judge considering blocking parts of North Carolina abortion law won't halt broader 12-week ban. Oregon governor names new Secretary of State after last one resigned over work for pot industry. Michigan man accused of planning to target synagogue is charged with threats. Pennsylvania senators vote to require all high school seniors to fill out financial aid form. Rapper Quando Rondo bonds out of jail after arrest on drug gang charges in Georgia. Taylor Swift, Austin Butler, Keke Palmer, and Kiwi Kwan invited to join Film Academy. Millions celebrate Eid al-Adha around the world. Muslims at Hajj pilgrimage brave intense heat to cast stones at pillars representing the devil. Missile kills 11 in a popular Ukrainian pizza parlor as Russia's aerial barrage continues. Iran takes Canada to United Nations top court in dispute over state immunity. Gymnastics star Simone Biles returning to competition in August in first meet since 2020 Olympics. And with the twinner on grass, Swiatek eases into Bad Homburg Open quarterfinals. You were listening to headlines, now news in detail. President Joe Biden congratulated Muslims on Tuesday on the occasion of Eid al-Adha. Biden and First Lady Jill Biden conveyed their best wishes to everyone who celebrates the holiday. In a statement issued by the White House, he noted that Eid commemorates the story of Abraham and his family's ultimate fidelity to God. Biden said that Muslim community leaders will come together to celebrate Eid al-Adha at the White House for the first time this year, hosted by Vice President Kamala Harris and his wife Jill. In the United States, we are proud to be home to millions of Muslims who enrich our nation's cultural fabric and contribute to our shared prosperity, he said in the statement, pointing to the contributions of American Muslims to the country in various fields. Biden said their presence strengthens our commitment to diversity, inclusion, and religious freedom. In his message emphasizing compassion, empathy, and mutual respect, he also referred to the Hajj ritual performed during Eid al-Adha. The Hajj brings together people from every continent and corner of the globe, leaving their worldly possessions and wearing the simple white ihram garb in a spirit of equality. This idea is similar to those on which our nation is built, that we are all created equal and have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, he said. May the spirit of Eid al-Adha bring joy, peace, and unity to our hearts and homes. We look forward to welcoming home our American Muslim pilgrims who have earned the title Al-Hajj. To them and to Muslims across the globe, we wish you a joyous and peaceful holiday, Eid Mubarak, Biden said. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken also congratulated the Muslim world on Eid al-Adha and conveyed his best wishes for Muslims who perform the Hajj. Debris from the Titan submersible has been returned to land after a fatal implosion during its voyage to the wreck of the Titanic captured the world's attention last week. The return of the debris to port in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador is a key piece of the investigation into why the submersible imploded, killing all 5 people on board. Twisted chunks of the 22-foot submersible were unloaded at a Canadian Coast Guard pier on Wednesday. The Canadian ship Horizon Arctic carried a remotely operated vehicle or ROV to search the ocean floor near the Titanic wreck for pieces of the submersible. Pelagic Research Services, a company with offices in Massachusetts and New York that owns the ROV, said on Wednesday that it has completed offshore operations. Pelagic Research Services team is still on mission and cannot comment on the ongoing Titan investigation, which involves several government agencies in the US and Canada, said Jeff Mahoney, a spokesperson for the company. They have been working around the clock now for 10 days through the physical and mental challenges of this operation and are anxious to finish the mission and the return to their loved ones, Mahoney said. Debris from the Titan was located about 12,500 feet underwater and roughly 1,600 feet from the Titanic on the ocean floor, the Coast Guard said last week. The Coast Guard is leading the investigation into why the submersible imploded during its June 18 descent. Officials announced on June 22 that the submersible had imploded and all 5 people on board were dead. The Coast Guard has convened a Marine Board of Investigation into the implosion. That is the highest level of investigation conducted by the Coast Guard. Former President Donald Trump is trying to turn the tables on the advice columnist who won a $5 million jury award against him in a sexual abuse lawsuit, saying in a countersuit that she owes him money and a retraction for continuing to insist she was raped even after a jury declined to agree. Lawyers for the Republican presidential candidate filed papers late Tuesday saying E. Jean Carroll should pay Trump unspecified compensatory and punitive damages and retract her damaging statements. The countersuit comes a month after Carroll's lawyers filed a rewritten defamation lawsuit seeking at least $10 million more from Trump over comments he made after the jury verdict in May. The jury concluded after a 2-week trial that Trump sexually abused Carroll in a luxury department store dressing room in spring 1996. It also found that he defamed her in comments he made denying the attack last October. But the jury rejected Carroll's claim, first made in a 2019 memoir, that Trump raped her in the Bergdorf Goodman dressing room. At trial, Carroll testified that the rape occurred after a chance encounter with Trump at the Midtown store, initially friendly and flirtatious, turned into a violent assault after they teased each other to try on a piece of lingerie. Trump has consistently denied ever raping Carroll or knowing her. He said the department store encounter never happened. The Detroit area woke up Wednesday to some of the worst air quality in the United States as the smoke from Canada's wildfires settled over most of the Great Lakes region and unhealthy haze spread southward as far as Missouri and Kentucky. Drifting smoke from the wildfires has lowered curtains of haze on broad swaths of the United States, pushing into southern Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, and moving into parts of West Virginia. The Environmental Protection Agency's airnow.gov site showed Detroit in the hazardous range and warned that everyone should stay indoors and reduce activity levels. Chicago, Indianapolis, Cleveland, Ohio, and Pittsburgh all have very unhealthy air. A wider circle of unhealthy air spread into St. Louis and Louisville, Kentucky. The smoke is exacerbating air quality issues for poor and black communities that already are more likely to live near polluting plants and in rental housing with mold and other triggers. A federal judge said Wednesday that she won't temporarily block most of a newly revised abortion law from taking effect this weekend in North Carolina, including a near ban on the procedure after 12 weeks of pregnancy. U.S. District Judge Catherine Eagles said at a court hearing that she won't grant the request by lawyers for Planned Parenthood South Atlantic and a physician to set aside most of the new restrictions before they are to come into force on Saturday, calling it overbroad. The 12-week ban, which was approved in the spring by North Carolina's Republican-controlled General Assembly and includes new exceptions for rape, incest, and life-limiting fatal anomalies, would replace the current ban on most abortions after 20 weeks. The abortion providers claim in litigation that several specific provisions affecting doctors and patients in the new law approved by the General Assembly are so contradictory, vague, and unconstitutional that all new restrictions starting July 1 needed to be aside for now. Eagles said repeatedly during the 2.5-hour hearing that she didn't yet know whether she would issue any temporary restraining order, but any such directive would be a narrower injunction limited to specific provisions being challenged in the provider's lawsuit, she said. Lavon Griffin Valid has been appointed Oregon's new Secretary of State, Democratic Governor Tina Kotek announced in a news release Wednesday, filling the vacancy created when Shemia Fagan resigned last month over criticism for her consultancy work for a marijuana business. Griffin Valid worked as a government performance auditor for more than 16 years, according to Kotek's news release. Fagan quit her post in early May after coming under fire for her side work as a paid consultant for marijuana retailer La Motel. Her consulting job, first reported by Willamette Week, paid $10,000 a month, with bonuses 3 times that amount if she helped the company get licensed in other states. The Secretary of State's salary is $77,000 annually. The new Secretary of State, Griffin Valid, was hired as an auditor for Multnomah County, home to Portland, in 1998. She then served as the elected Portland City Auditor from 2009 to 2014, according to Wednesday's news release. A grand jury has indicted a 19-year-old Michigan man accused of making threats over social media and having loose plans to target a synagogue near Lansing, the state capital. Sean Piatila of Pickford in the state's Upper Peninsula has been in custody since June 16. An indictment charging him with making threats, including a threat to kill by fire, was filed Tuesday in federal court in Grand Rapids. No one should face violent threats because of their race, ethnicity, religion, or any other status, said U.S. Attorney Mark Totten. When Piatila was arrested, investigators said he had the name of the Sherry Zedek congregation in East Lansing on his phone along with the 2024 date. He wrote to another Instagram user that he would inspire others to take arms against the Jewish-controlled state. During a search of his home, agents said they found a cache of weapons, knives, tactical equipment, and a red and white Nazi flag. Agents said he made apparent references to the New Zealand shooter who is serving life in prison for killing 51 people and injuring 40 others in the 2019 Christchurch mosque attacks. Piatila was arrested the same day a truck driver was convicted of storming Tree of Life, a Pittsburgh synagogue, in 2018 and killing 11 congregants in an act of anti-Semitic terror. High school seniors in Pennsylvania would be required to fill out a form that determines eligibility for financial aid for post-secondary programs under a bill passed by the State Senate on Wednesday. The bill was approved 46-4 and was sent to the State House for its consideration. The measure would mandate that high school seniors across the state complete the free application for federal student aid. The FAFSA determines a student's financial need and eligibility for federal, state, and school financial aid to enroll in higher education, career, and technical education and certificate programs. The federal form calculates needs based on information families provide about income and assets, plus other factors like family size. Families would be able to opt out of the requirement, sponsors said. If passed by the House, the requirement would take effect in the 2024-25 school year. The completion rate for the federal aid application in Pennsylvania is currently 53%, the bill's sponsors said, and students who complete the form are more likely to enroll in post-secondary programs. Backers of the proposal say that more than $115 million in federal Pell Grant funds were unclaimed in Pennsylvania in 2021. At least 9 other states have laws requiring completion of the federal application. Rapper Quando Rondo has bonded out of jail after he was indicted on drug and gang charges in his hometown of Savannah. Court records show a judge granted a $100,000 bond for the 24-year-old rapper, whose given name is Tyquan Terrell Bowman. He was released Monday, according to the Chatham County Sheriff's Office. A grand jury indicted him along with 18 others on June 14. The indictment charged Bowman with 4 counts, including being a manager of an illegal street gang known as Rolling 60s. Other charges allege Bowman conspired with others to distribute marijuana and to buy pills of the opioid hydrocodone. His lawyer Jonah Pine declined to comment last week. He did not immediately respond Wednesday to a voicemail message and email seeking comment. The rapper's singles I Remember and ABG led to a deal with Atlantic Records, which released his debut album, Q-Pack, in 2020. His follow-up album, Recovery, came out in March. Taylor Swift, Best Supporting Actor Oscar winner Ke Huy Quan, Elvis star Austin Butler, Nope's Keke Palmer, and The Weeknd have been invited to join the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. The organization behind the Oscars said Wednesday that it extended invitations to 398 individuals to join its ranks this year. Among those invited are 22 Oscar winners and 76 nominees, like Everything Everywhere All at Once writer, director, producers Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, who must choose one of the 3 branches, as well as actors Paul Mescal, Stephanie Su, and Kerry Condon. A majority of this year's invitees hail from countries outside of the US, including RRR actors Ram Charan and N.T. Ramarao Jr., Holly Spider star Zar Amir Ibrahimi, Triangle of Sadness, Breakout Dolly DeLeon, Shoplifters Sakura Ando, Phantom Thread star Vicky Krieps, and Decision to Live's Park Hae-il. Other Hollywood actors on the list include Lashana Lynch, Nicholas Hoult, Bill Hader, Paul Reiser, Selma Blair, and the Goonies actor Robert John Davey. Now it's time for global updates. Muslims around the world celebrate the Feast of Sacrifice festival that marks the end of the annual Hajj pilgrimage. Millions of Muslims across the globe are celebrating Eid al-Adha, one of the biggest holidays in the Islamic calendar. Known as the Feast of Sacrifice, the revered observance coincides with the final rites of the annual Hajj in Saudi Arabia. Eid al-Adha commemorates the Quranic tale of Prophet Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his son Ismail as an act of obedience to God. The belief holds that God stayed his hand, sparing the boy and placing a ram in his place. The day is marked with the sacrifice of an animal, usually a goat, sheep, or cow, and the distribution of the meat among neighbors, family members, and the poor. Muslims in the US also celebrated the holy Eid al-Adha. Hundreds of thousands of Muslim pilgrims on Wednesday braved intense heat to perform the symbolic stoning of the devil during the Hajj pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia. With morning temperatures rising past 42 degrees Celsius, huge crowds of pilgrims walked or took buses to the vast Jamarat complex just outside the holy city of Mecca, where large pedestrian bridges lead past three white pillars representing the devil. Using pebbles collected the night before at a campsite known as Muzdalifa, the pilgrims stoned the pillars. It's a reenactment of the story of the Prophet Ibrahim, known as Abraham in Christian and Jewish traditions, who is said to have hurled stones at Satan to resist temptation. This year, the biggest danger might be the heat. Temperatures soared past 45 degrees Celsius on Tuesday, as Muslims marked the spiritual high point of the pilgrimage by spending the day praying at Mount Arafat, where there was no breeze and almost no shade. Pilgrims huddled under umbrellas, dousing themselves with bottled water. Cell phones were almost too hot to hold and shut down after just a few minutes of use. Saudi authorities have deployed tens of thousands of health workers for the pilgrimage, and volunteers were handing out water. More than 6,700 pilgrims have been treated for heat exhaustion or heat stroke since the start of the pilgrimage, said Dr. Muhammad Al-Abdul Ali, a health ministry spokesman. Ukrainian authorities on Wednesday arrested a man they accused of helping Russia direct a missile strike that killed at least 11 people, including 3 teenagers, at a popular pizza restaurant in eastern Ukraine. The Tuesday evening attack on Kramatorsk wounded 61 other people, Ukraine's national police said. It was the latest bombardment of a Ukrainian city, a tactic Russia has used heavily in the 16-month-old war. The strike and others across Ukraine late Tuesday and early Wednesday indicated that the Kremlin is not easing its aerial onslaught, despite political and military turmoil at home after a short-lived armed uprising in Russia last weekend. There has been no apparent military push by Ukraine to exploit that turmoil, though the government has been tight-lipped about recent battlefield developments as it seeks to gain momentum in its recently launched counter-offensive. The Kremlin reeled from the weekend mutiny led by Yevgeny Prigozhin, owner of the Wagner private army of prison recruits and other mercenaries. Wagner has played a key combat role for Russia in Ukraine. The rebellion posed the most serious threat so far to Russian President Vladimir Putin's grip on power. Prigozhin went into exile in neighboring Belarus on Tuesday, according to Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko, after Russia said he wouldn't face charges for the revolt. Prigozhin's whereabouts could not be independently confirmed. Lukashenko has said his country would allow Wagner to set up a temporary camp in Belarus, but it remained unclear how many mercenaries would move there. Iran has filed a case against Canada at the United Nations top court, accusing it of flouting state immunity in allowing relatives of victims of terrorism to seek reparations from the Islamic Republic. In its case announced Wednesday by the International Court of Justice, Tehran argues that Canada is obliged to respect the jurisdictional immunity which Iran enjoys under international law and should not allow civil claims against Iran for alleged support to or acts of terrorism. Canada also should not allow its courts to recognize foreign judgments in terrorism cases linked to Iran and has no right to seize Iranian property in order to enforce such judgments, the written filing says. Among the Canadian cases cited in Iran's written filing is a ruling by the Ontario Superior Court that the Iranian military is downing on January 8, 2020. Of Ukraine International Airlines flight PS-752 with 2 surface-to-air missiles constituted an act of terrorism. All 176 people on board were killed. Over 100 of the Iranian victims had Canadian citizenship or residency, prompting some families of the victims to sue Iran in a Canadian civil court. Now it's time for business news. Today's New York stock close price is 15,617.36. The NYSE Composite is decreased by 29.32 points or 0.19%. Tokyo stock close price is 33,193.99. The Nikkei 225 index is increased by 655.66 points or 2.02%. Shanghai stock close price is 3,189.38. The Shanghai index is decreased by 0.07 points or 0.00%. Hong Kong stock close price is 19,172.05. The Hang Seng index is increased by 23.92 points or 0.12%. Bombay stock close price is 63,915.42. The Sensex index is increased by 945.42 points or 1.50%. Let's have a look on today's sports stories. Simone Biles is back. The gymnastics superstar plans to return to competition at the US Classic outside Chicago in early August, her first event since the pandemic-delayed 2020 Tokyo Olympics. US Gymnastics announced Wednesday that Biles, a seven-time Olympic medalist and the 2016 Olympic champion, is part of the women's field for the single-day event set for August 5 at Now Arena in Hoffman Estates. Biles returned for the balance beam final, where she won a bronze medal that tied Shannon Miller's record for most Olympic medals by an American female gymnast. She hinted at the Paris 2024 Olympics, but only after taking a lengthy break. The last 2 years have been a whirlwind of sorts. She headlined her post-Olympic tour in the fall of 2021 and married NFL player Jonathan Wentz, now a defensive back for the Green Bay Packers, this spring. Iga Swiatek eased into the quarterfinals of the Bad Homburg Open with a 6-3, 6-1 win over Jill Teichmann on Wednesday in the Wimbledon warm-up. The French Open champion pulled off a tweener to convert her first break point for a 3-2 lead in the first set at the grass court tournament, then wrapped up the result in 1 hour, 19 minutes. Swiatek had saved 3 break points in her opening service game and did not face another until her final service game of the match. She saved all the 5 break points she faced, while taking 4 of her 5 opportunities against the 129th ranked Swiss player. Swiatek will next play Russian Anna Blinkova, who beat 20-year-old Canadian Leila Fernandez 7-5, 6-2 in the last second round match. Let's have a look on today's weather forecast. That's all in today's news. Keep watching Millennium News 24 for latest update. Millennium TV USA and Millennium News 24 network is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV and Apple TV, and also in all European countries and Australia, available with Sky Network, Worldwide Jagu TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jagu BD Network and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with us for all types of informative and entertainment program. Thank you.